right, everybody. Good morning and happy Monday after what was a pretty epic weekend. And yeah, hope you guys are feeling good, feeling refreshed, feeling recharged, feeling ready to go, and are looking forward to compounding what has been an excellent run of form here. And kind of, continuing to build out on some of the foundational skills that we've really been focusing on here for the last, I would say a couple months, right? If I'm thinking back to what my target was in January, and kind of where I'm at here right now with my trading, definitely feel like I'm not giving up right on my New Year's resolution. So the idea to focus on losing small, on just emphasizing a little bit more, right? Closing as my P&L is increasing, and just constantly just holding myself to a standard that sucks, but forces me to improve, has been a really kind of positive start here to the year. And honestly, like it's so rewarding, right? It's like, yeah, it's exciting, like it's fun, like I feel very energetic. I don't ever want to be doing anything else. And yeah, Mike, I think that's the right sentiment. Like I am so grateful that I get to do something that I'm excited over every single day. And that's such like just a beautiful spot to be. And it's so much fun. So, yeah, just really happy to be here with everyone. Really grateful that everyone's here, and really looking forward to what should hopefully be another interesting trading week in what has been a bout of tremendous chaos. And yeah, looking forward to kind of getting after it. Everyone here, good morning, right? Good morning, everyone watching on YouTube. Good morning, everyone here in Discord. Welcome to our new members or new members of the DTR family. Hope you guys are looking forward to kind of elevating your trading. And yeah, guys, let's have ourselves an incredible trading day, and let's put ourselves in situations where we're happy with our process and really controlling those variables, right? Just to kind of go full circle here. Those are the things that have made me successful, right, this year. Those are the things that are making team members here successful this year. It's not chasing the P&L improvement on a daily basis. It's chasing the process improvement that leads to the P&L improvement, right? So the way we want to start each session off, or the way that we want to focus each day, is just expecting us to get better, right? If I get better enough days in a row, the P&L will catch up. I guarantee that. And the more that we can focus on just that little process improvement, right, the faster our P&L catches up. So for me, right, that's continually focusing on the things that I can control, focusing on the things that I'm effectively making decisions over, and using those data points to really just maximize, right, my trading. From that perspective, right, what I have kind of discovered, I would say, right, so far this year, is that I'm a very, very calm trader when I am process focused, right? When I'm looking at repeatable actions, when I'm looking at things that I can replicate trade after trade. And there has been a tremendous improvement within that, right, for my mean reversion technique. So, I really like honestly, the change to make it more familiar has been really calming and has been really profitable here for me. And so that's going to continue to be my emphasis kind of going forward. If I'm acknowledging what my flaw is, or like what I'm not maybe very good at here as a trader, it's basically those trades where I have to trust and hope, versus where I can be in control and have more structure. So I feel a lot more confident as a trader, right? Where I'm basically trading within kind of a more rigid framework. And that's something that I want to continue to focus on, right? Even though, okay, on CL, right, on Friday, we had a really good entry. If we had held on until end of day, yes, we would have made a little bit more money. But I think just from like a execution perspective, right, I'm really going to struggle taking setups where I get a really good P&L follow through, then I give back everything, and then it makes that move. So, for those of you who want to play pullbacks on these techniques, right, on this mean reversion idea, then yeah, I've got no problem with that, right? But what I want us to focus on, if we're going to be adding that as like a repertoire, is how can I make that process repeatable, right? How can I backtest that? How can I create confidence in my entry so that I'm either green right away, right, or I'm red right away? I don't want to be sitting in trades where I'm draining mental capital, I'm draining my like emotional resources, and like hoping that I kind of get bailed out if my timing isn't correct. I trade the best when I can either, I shouldn't say either. I trade the best when my plan is clear and price action either gives me a variant of my plan if I'm correct, right? Or it tells me that my idea is wrong. And the more specific I am with those variables, the better I trade, the calmer I feel, and the more money I make. Even if maybe on individual setups, I'm not selling the very top or buying the very bottom. That's not really what my emphasis is. So yes, I think there's things that I can continue to improve with that technique. Excuse me. But I'm not going to like just pretend that every trade is going to be green right away. I'm really going to focus on just being deliberate, being controlled, and putting myself in good situations. All right. So a couple questions here, right, that are in the question or in the Discord. So Marsha, I don't know if you're watching, but I'm going to tell you what my stop loss price is. I'm going to mark out what my entry price is. I'm going to mark out what my profit target is. So you'll get a good idea of everything that I'm doing here before I enter a trade. And so you'll be able to get all that information here. And I'll make sure I'm not leaving you guys lacking. If for whatever reason I don't say something, just let me know. I am human. I will make mistakes or just forget things sometimes. So do my best. But yeah, I'm boxing in all my trades always. So you always see my stop loss and profit target and always working backwards to a specific entry price. All right. So, yeah, a couple things, right? Economic calendar here. First things first. Oh, it's a short week, right? Markets are closed here on Friday. So again, that might create a little bit of extra emphasis for us. It's option expiration, right? Should be on that Friday historically, so that'll occur on Thursday. So will be a little bit of some extra like technical volatility from that perspective, but nothing too insane. And then economic calendar here today looks okay. A bunch of Fed speak in the afternoon, but we should be over and done by then. All right, Dunzo. So what's the counts here, team? Let's start doing our prep and let's get after it. Yeah, inside bar, spot on, right? So Friday's price action fully consolidated inside Thursday's range. We're looking for a consolidation breakout here this morning. Hey, good morning, Suresh, Stewart, Brian, Jimmy. Hope you guys are doing well. All right, so starting point here, we're going to go 5,500, I think. Oops. So there, and then we're going to go 55.30, so we'll go 55.10. And then next kind of point of contact, 57. That's probably too far. So I'll go to like 56. I think that's a pretty reasonable starting point here today. Okay, and then to the downside here, targeting pre-market lows. So we'll call that 54 on the dot. And then we'll go down towards sort of yesterday's low or Friday's low, 5,200, probably a little bit too aggressive. But if I can get like 100 points, that's awesome, right? So we'll go 53.90. All right. Any questions? ES makes sense to you guys? All right, sweet. NQ, how do we feel? Count, similar, not so similar? Yeah, same story, right? So double inside bar setup here. We're still looking for that consolidation breakout. All right, and so we're targeting a move towards 19.4. So effectively, right, that point of consolidation where we've gotten stuck. And then I think I'm gonna go probably like 20,000 is pretty reasonable. I don't need to go too much further than that. Not when it's an inside bar, Ajay. It's more only like when you have a 2 out of 3 or a 1 for 3 or whatever. But on an inside bar, it's just consolidation. So we're looking for consolidation breakout either way. And we kind of care less until it breaks out away from effectively that Wednesday range, right? So we're just saying it's consolidation until we break out effectively towards that path or beyond. And so we're not super concerned about the direction here of the pre-market. Really all that's going to do is give us a bias over which direction is maybe more likely or which scenario is more likely, right? So if I have an inside bar and I'm looking for a breakout, I know I'm targeting an initial move here towards that 400. And because we're, closer to that Wednesday high than that Wednesday low, my bias, right, is either then for a breakout trade or a fake out back up above that range. So the pre-market color here and sort of like its opening size doesn't influence an inside bar pre-market condition. It just gives me a little bit of like a setup filter, we'll call it. Right, and then so to the downside here, basically a fake out right above highs and then break down towards 18.9. And then we can go down towards sort of lows of 18,000. Fantastic. All right. NQ makes sense to everybody? Great. All right. CL. What's the count? How do we feel? Same thing. Yeah. Inside bars across the board. So formal consolidation there on Friday, right? And we're just looking for that consolidation breakout. Really good dip buy there on Friday that we did there on CL. That was an awesome trade. I'm roll at 62. I think starting point's probably going to be like 63.50. Maybe I can go 63. I'll just go 63. All right, so go 63, 63.50. I think the other level, right, before that will be taken care of by the opening range. Cool. And then to the downside here, same thing, targeting a move back down towards like 58, 59. So I can go, I think I probably go like 61, 60, 50, 60, 59, 50. There we go. And then plenty of space. Do we think that our 7% limit down here is in play today and our prop firm limits in play here today? Do we need to map out those levels or should we be hopefully relatively safe away from those restrictions? Yeah, hopefully, right? Famous last words, but pretty dramatic move will have to happen before we get stopped or prevented from trading here today. All right, old Apple, inside bar, double inside bar, looking for a pretty big breakout. Maybe, right, a little bit of an overreaction size gap up relative to sort of what the indexes are telling us here. So this could be a pretty classic like gap fill and go type scenario, which would give us a probably stronger indication of this being a little bit of a fake out versus anything else. Or fake out higher, fill down towards 200 and then go. So if that's the case, right, then that maybe indicates for us on the indexes, fake out, then breakdown. All right, double inside bar here again on Tesla. So very similar narratives here across the board. Maybe a bit more work to do, right? It's got to get above 276 here before we can really call this a bullish breakout. So yeah, maybe not as interesting here today. Microsoft, we'll call this a 2 out of 3 here without volume. So again, right, looking for a breakout above Wednesday's range. Amazon, double inside bar. A lot of these today. Cool. AMD, 2 out of 3 without volume. NVIDIA, 2 out of 3 without volume. So if I'm going to say like these gap ups are supported by thin volume or weak volume, what does that maybe imply for us or give us a little bit of a feeling towards? Or like, what does that tell us about the current bullish price action? Maybe that's a better way of describing it. So we're seeing, really big gap ups that aren't supported by a very impressive volume standard, right? So it's like a little bit of an inconsistent story from bulls. So if we're going to trust a bullish narrative here this AM, right, we're going to need to see a pretty big volume oomph show back up to tell us that, hey, there's enough momentum to basically sustain some of these moves higher. Probably the highest probability look. Maybe that's a little bit of like a oxymoron. But it's effectively to think that, hey, these bulls maybe aren't super strong and they might want to catch their breath before making a real move. So seeing it revert back to the mean here this morning and push lower, I don't think would be super surprising. A Meta. We're going to call this again 2 out of 3 here without volume. And this has a lower low, right, and a lower high and still inside Wednesday's range. Maybe not a very good sign here of strength from Meta. Feels like a long time ago, it wouldn't stop going up. Now it won't stop going down. So let's see how this thing wants to set up and behave. Tesla, not quite an inside bar going into earnings there on Thursday. That's pretty volatile. But yeah, we'll call this a 1 out of 3. So again, right, looking for a breakout or to see some sort of strong trending PA. And then Google inside bar as well, so double inside. Cool, all right, and then you're looking 160 breakouts and go. And then the old Vixaruni hanging out at 32 this morning. So for me, right, that indicates that we could be setting ourselves up here for about 2% of daily range based on previous close. We're almost at that 2% number. Again, doesn't mean we can't break out here, but that sort of implied range move has already happened here this morning or in the overnight session. So maybe no desire or no need to be super aggressive here, right, until we get some sort of high conviction scenario, right? Or we see kind of price action remain relatively consistent here across the board. Like if I'm trying to go into the memory bank from Friday, it really was a day that was challenging for us to trade on the indexes because everything was telling us a day of consolidation, right? So I maybe shouldn't say challenging. I don't think it wasn't hard for us to avoid that price action, but we knew that price action was going to be sticky as long as every name maintained a consistent story of basically being stuck, right? So we had formal consolidation pretty much everywhere. We continue to have that same setup here this morning. Now we're probably a little bit more primed to get that breakout type trade or that breakout type opportunity. That seems to be kind of how we're poised here this morning. And so either a breakout or a failed breakout trade should set us up to get a consistent narrative here pretty much everywhere. If we don't get that nice oomph or we don't get that nice story, I'm going to be probably a little bit hesitant to want to trade the indexes, as that just sets me up, right, for fake out city and just like an opportunity to kind of like drain my mental capital. So I don't want to be exhausted by price action here today. I want to look for that perfect A plus trade, get something that, right, is high conviction and something that is easy from just like a rules following perspective, right? One of my favorite traders always talks about, if it isn't easy, I don't want it. And that's, I think, a mindset that I really want, right? So yes, there might be some volatility. Yes, things might move aggressively. Yes, there's a chance for some craziness, but I'm not going to allow any of those like emotional triggers from price action to trick me into making a decision that I simply don't want to make, or one that just fundamentally does not follow my rules. So today, right, I really have to force myself to be structured, to be disciplined, right, to stay in my lane and to trade within sort of the structures that I've built for myself. Because when I do, I'm very successful. When I deviate away from that, maybe I'll make some money, but I drain mental capital, which ultimately costs me money further on. So no like self-inflicted wounds here today, right? That's really the objective. And from there, I can put myself in a situation where I can continue compounding and building on what has been a fantastic start to the trading year, right? We're sitting at all-time highs here in our portfolio. I don't need to force anything, right? I don't need to rush anything. I don't need to like feel owed to make a decision. All I'm owed is the chance to sit and watch. And if price action wants to follow my rules, then I'm going to execute ruthlessly. If it doesn't want to behave within my structures or follow my plan, happy to sit on hands and not force anything. So yeah, Ajay, the gap question is a very valid one. Yes, vast majority of gaps get filled within sort of the first 2 days. But I'm not going to like blindly just play gap fill setups. That tends to be like a little bit of a painful argument. So I kind of have like two philosophical views there. Yes, most gaps get filled within, say, 48 hours. But I think gaps love getting filled in the second most obvious way. And yeah, sometimes that might be a little bit of a confusing scenario. When we have conditions like this and these overreaction gap ups, then we're kind of maybe getting a little bit of a setup here for like some of those mean reversion type trades, where it then wants to fill that gap there pretty immediately. But that's not quite the conditions we have here today. Does that make sense? So again, it maybe just gives me like a little bit of a directional bias, but like I'll call it like a 51-49, right? Because yeah, within 2 days of it being able to give me a move, that's so much time. And yeah, I'm not gonna like lose sleep over that or anything like that. So yeah, good statistic to know, especially on these big gap up days. Like if I were to trade an Apple this morning, right, trusting that this gap up is just gonna fly to 260, that's probably where I would struggle with that as a thesis. But like on a trading perspective here today, probably a little bit of an expectation that's going to want to test towards that 200. And then I wouldn't want to really be looking for a bullish continuation until I saw that gap fill attempt fail. Any other questions here, team? Morning, Marco. Any other questions here, team? Any other questions? Hey, Sammy, welcome. Let's go, Rebecca. I love that. Let's crush it. Let's have ourselves a great week, team. All right. We got about 4 minutes here till market open. I'm just going to go, excuse me, I'm just going to go make myself a quick cup of coffee, take the dog out for a quick sniff, and I'll be back in a second. So just give me a minute here, team, and we'll jump back on that market open and set ourselves up for a successful trading day. Be right back. All right, we're back. We're back. We're back. Uh, Sweet. So let's get ready here, team, for what should hopefully be an interesting trading day. Again, right, we're going to judge a lot of today's, I'll call it enthusiasm, right, based on sort of what the volume profiles are telling us here this morning. Strong volume, we're going to be in good shape. Bad volume, right, we're probably expecting another day of consolidation. If it is a day of consolidation, right, then probably our easiest trade or our easiest setup will likely then end up being kind of like that mean reversion look. And we'll see if that ends up being a reality here. I think there's a lot of fear, we'll call it, right? That people have missed the rally at this point. And I'm not quite sure if I'm at that point here yet. I do have an immediate 2-min signal here on NQ and ES, both to the downside. Very tempting. If this ever wants to load, got a bunch of triggers there, multiple time frames. So again, right, you got to box it in. So average wins 113. That would be like 86. Approximately there-ish. Don't need an entry 214 or better. Right, be able to trade this here to the downside. So no chance there yet, I would say. And all this maybe does is just set it up for a longer time frame, right? So no problems. So maybe around that 54 now, right? On this 5-min would be sort of the starting point. Again, you're looking at a 208, 207 entry, so I need a pretty decent pullback to justify. Otherwise, we're looking at the aggressive and maybe we go do something a little bit different. So give it 30 seconds here. Let's see how this behaves. All right, so again, still watching here. No huge rush, right? So first thing I'm setting here, right, is my stop loss price. So I'll call that 255. Just round it up. And I know, right, I need above 207.50. I don't think I'm going to get another type of entry. Maybe I could do the aggressive, which would go stop loss at 199. And then I would need a pull back into 74-ish. All right, so I need to pull back into that blue line. I don't know if I'm going to get it on this time frame. So again, I'm just going to pass on this burden of confirmation if it doesn't want to behave appropriately. You can always trade this on the 10 min. I believe we're going to get a signal here as well. So don't have to be in a rush here, team, right? Don't have to be in a rush. Uh, shame. Shame. It's a nice move. Let's go, Mike. Love it. You're in great shape. Still waiting here. Still waiting. Trading view being nice and slow this AM. Always fun. Oh, 50 seconds to go here. Decent volume. Yeah, so that target's still pretty reasonable, I think. Fine. This is a mean reversion look here, Deb, right? Okay, so looking at something like this, stop loss 112. See it pull back into like 91-ish. And be a one contract play, guys. One contract, right? Don't be an over aggressive trader here. It's not worth it. Okay, so watching. Got close. I saw an 89. Oh, I might have just missed it. Are you kidding? Oh, that was the perfect entry. Oh, it was mean. Just didn't pull the trigger. And no path there. Still gonna watch. Nice work, Mike. Hell yeah. Nice work, Patrick. Yeah, that's what I tried to do. So you're in great shape here, right? Make sure you have a plan on how you're going to protect this thing. Close, right, as your P&L is increasing instead of on a pullback. But you're in great shape here. That's $1,000, right? Not a bad way to start the day. Nice work. Great win. Fantastic. It's only 9:42. I don't know what you're going to do with the rest of your session. Good luck. Hopefully you don't get bored to death. Really well done, Patrick. Enjoy, man. So a couple really impressive wins to start the day by the team. Fantastic work here. Again, Patrick got the fill right at that blue line when I didn't. And that's why I draw out that line, right, guys? So that you guys can make your own decision on when to click submit based on what I'm doing. Because this way, right, you can take trades, make money on plans instead of waiting to hear that I'm in. Why we draw out that entry zone, right, on all of our positions and talk about those processes. So really well done, Steven. Really well done, Patrick. Really well done, Mike. Right? You did exactly what I want y'all to do. So that's really nicely done. Yeah, could be in play. This would be an ORB move instead. And then targeting 18.9. Probably the only thing I don't like, that confirmation didn't hold under 900. I'm going to wait for that. Or through 19,000, sorry. I'd rather wait for that. Or just keep playing the mean reversion. Okay, so again, right, watching here. All right, so that's 15 min signal. So we need to see a pullback into 173 if we're going to play this on the pullback technique. That's a scary one. All right, still watch. I mean, it's a pretty big pullback. It's got to do at this point now. I guess the other alternative would be to do it like this on this original entry that we had, right? Same stop loss location on that 10 min. That might be the only other variant. Yeah, it was a pretty enthusiastic rejection, but then not exactly a super strong pullback here. I still have it set up at 112 as a stop. Maybe this ends up being a better yes trade. So we need to get into 58. Or again, right, we're back to looking for potential breakdown trades here. All right, so watching ES as well. Maybe this is the slightly more likely setup at this point. So stop loss 468. Right, and it needs to be within 58. I'm going to be looking around that 60 for an entry, right? So blue line, basically our signal candle low, right, is what I'm looking for as a support zone. So first attempt around it here. Let's see. And no rush, right? I'm trying to make my entry binary here. Once I see it above that blue line, that's when I'm going to start looking to pull the trigger. Not before, right? Okay, here's our first attempt. Let's see how it finds support. All right, guys, I am in. Average price, if I can find it, 463.25, 463.25 short. Survive. Got stopped out. Oh, that's a frustrating one. Minus 254.28. Minus 254.28. Okay, did a good job losing small there. Annoyed, not the big deal. I'm back in my NQ entry zone. I mean, and all things considered, Vinny, is a very, very small loss, right? I think we did a pretty good job there controlling our risk. Now, a little bit unlucky to get faked out maybe as we have. But that's the game, right? So not a big deal. And again, we had the right thesis, right? We had the right idea. We just got a little bit shaken out before it wanted to make its move. That happens. It's annoying when it does, but it happens, unfortunately. So again, I am back to watching here this NQ to the downside. I'm watching this reaction here around this psychological level, right? This 100. It's a good rejection. Okay, so again, watching here as it pulls into this 100. All right, guys. So I am in short, average price 95.25. One contract. Oops. And okay, so far so good, right? Putting me nicely green already. So let's see if this thing can continue breaking down here and push me into a happy place. Bouncy though. Okay, watching closely here, team. Watching closely. Turning into a nice rip. Fantastic work, everybody. Hopefully a few of you guys are in this position as well. All right, I have closed there at that 57. I have closed at 57. And it's simply because we're creeping up towards 10 a.m. Can't remember if we have market data at 10. Don't, but just getting out, resetting, and I'll take that win, right? I will take that all day long. And now puts me nicely green here on the day, up about $500. Let's go. Nice work, Samuel. Congratulations. And so I would say two things influenced my exit, right? Really kind of like big bounces, right? So we saw it go from like 96 to 106 to 56, just like that, right? So that creates a little bit of then extra headline risk. I wasn't confident that I was 100% sure there was no data at 10. So creeping up towards that time frame and just get out, reset, try again. Move gave me a quick little flush lower. Haven't really left any money on the table. And okay, right? Good reset. Nice work, T. Lamont. Great work, team. Great work. And yeah, I think we did a good job there, closing at the right time, for sure. So did a good job focusing on losing small, right, on that first trade. Bought a deeper pullback, cut our max loss in half, right? So very, very positive. And then that second trade, didn't get greedy, got out when price action wasn't maybe behaving as consistently as one would like. Going into some potential headline risk, better to be objective and no P&L pressure and to be up, right? $500 a day is better than being down $500 a day. And we can definitely continue to build off of that. So well done here, team. And yeah, good job. Kind of trading like Royal McIlroy here. Getting a bogey on one and then back in the lead after three. Beautiful. And so again, if the trade is strong, it'll give us multiple chances to enter here. Don't have to worry about that. Everyone feeling good? So yeah, T. Lamont, what I do, I've mentioned this multiple times here already. There's even stuff in the Discord about this, but I don't use copy traders. I have effectively 3 execution screens open, and I'm executing prop firms that way and then personal account that way. I don't use trade copiers. I simply don't trust them with my personal funds. If I was exclusively trading prop firm, no problem. But I don't do that. So it's too much risk for me. Like to, I don't want this to come off bad, but like a 200, I don't trust a $200 trade copier or whatever it costs to do the right thing if it glitches and it liquidates my, $2.5 million family fund. Like that, the risk reward there is not justifiable. Yeah, really good start to the day here, team. Really, really good start. We've got some 30-min signals as well on that mean reversion if we want to continue kind of going after this idea here. Now, this gets a little bit tighter here for us to justify now risk reward. We would need to see a pretty significant pullback here for, a stop loss towards high of day. Not sure if that's super likely. I got the hiccups all of a sudden. But yeah, let's see. And again, I feel pretty vindicated in where I closed that trade. We've made a little bit of a lower low under that, but not really sustained it or held it. So again, protected mental capital there pretty well. And just closed when I was up 2R. Sweet. I can live with that. Effectively, right, a 1 to 4 or 4 to 1 return on my true risk that I had here today. That's a good enough edge. I can live with that. And then I'm kind of saying this out loud, so I remember it when I go review my trading here today. But I would say that my initial entry, or like the feeling I had here post entry on NQ, was one that I was scared probably of getting faked out. And maybe it's because I was holding a little bit of that baggage from that initial ES trade where it faked out and then sold off here significantly before now what would have been a fake out again. So again, I don't know if I'm like, I think I was justified in closing where I did. I think that was the right decision. But I think what that's telling me is that maybe there was something in my plan there that I didn't maybe have a full bout of confidence in, or like I was missing a piece of information. And then once I entered, the fear of getting faked out was maybe larger than like my greed to make money, if that makes sense. So I was like, the pain of getting faked out would have been worse than the glory of a win. That makes sense. So I was more concerned about that than I was about making money. And again, I feel vindicated in that, right? As it's now, it for sure would have faked us out here. But this doesn't feel like maybe this is the better way to describe it. It doesn't feel like a trending market here yet. Like it's big volatility or big ranges because that's what we've seen here for the last 3 weeks. But it's not with consistent candles, with consistent volume profiles, with like price action that's behaving as if it's a healthy trend. So again, did a good job protecting. This would have been a terrible trade here at this point, right? It would have been a terrible feeling. Maybe not terrible, terrible feeling. But yeah, I feel good, team. How's everyone feeling? Ooh, okay, let's take a look. Thank you, Ajay. So one thing I gotta say I love about running this room, it's like I have 60 pairs of eyes. It's pretty nice. I appreciate that. We have an opportunity for green to red. Always my favorites. Talked about start of the day, right? How if we're going to be to the upside, probably want to see bears fail first. You know, this could potentially start to be our evidence of that, right? Effectively a failed attempt to finish filling that gap. Nice work, Nautilus. Great day. Okay, we have an opportunity. Now the question, this is, do we go high a day? Or do we go or ORB high? I think I'd probably go high a day. It's a pretty big range. It's still like 100 points. So again, box in the trade. For now, we're looking at the pullback entry technique because we haven't made a higher high above our confirmation candle. realistically, I think it needs to be the pullback technique. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to get the position sizing I want. And then it needs to be within 25 points of 93, right? So that would be 108 approximately. So now I know, right, that I need to get an entry, right, 18. I need to get an entry right around that area, right, to be able to justify taking on a trade. No, I disagree. Because the gap between where price is and the previous high of the candle is more than 25 points. So if I'm going to be buying a pullback here, I need to buy a pullback off of an area where I haven't seen support hold. I would have wanted support to have held at that 62.50, give or take. Hasn't done that. So I would have no confidence that that is going to then be a reasonable stop loss location. You're short, Mike? You're short? Yeah, really good start to the day here, team. Really happy with everyone's results. Looks great. And yeah, no rush. No rush here. All good, all good. Like you did something there, Mike, that I actually really like. So I've really, like from an educator's perspective, right? If you're in a trade here intraday, I can give you feedback on that, right? If you ask questions and hopefully help you kind of like notice patterns, right? That are maybe making you money or costing you money. So it's a lot easier to spot those things in the moment instead of going back, right, and trying to figure it out. Okay, I'm watching here to the upside. Got close. But yeah, I say this to everyone, right? And this is anyone who was watching here. The more feedback you give me, the more feedback I can give you. And in trading, the more instant feedback that we can create for ourselves that isn't P&L focused, then the easier it is for us to create sort of the process changes that we need to become consistently profitable. So I'm starting to watch here, right? I am going to be looking around that, like see if it can pull back in towards like 100, right? Into that round number. Uh, 19. What the heck? No worries, Mike. No worries. I mean, it would have been the right move. Let's go, Derek. Nice work, man. Hey, Derek, just quick reminder here, right? You stick to your rules, you follow your plan. You don't do any cowboy shit. I know you're a Texan. Now it's $1,200 in 2 days per account, right? So that's more than most people make it in a month, let alone 2 trading sessions. So less FanDuel, more DTR, and you'll stack up a lot of wins here for yourself, man. Yeah, Zane, I'll for sure look for other opportunities if something sets up. I don't have any clear ideas here yet or clear setups here yet. But yeah, I got plenty of time here still. Well, I'm not to say that you guys shouldn't do any sports betting or things along those lines, but I think that there's an important psychological shift as a trader where you basically decide for yourself that you're going to stop playing games where you don't expect to win. Oz, I'm not sure what you're referencing there. Yeah, like, yeah, like for me, I think just once I stopped playing games where I was expecting to lose, it was like a mental shift to hold myself to a higher standard when I was trading. So like when I was working institutionally, I would do a ton of sports betting on like the Premier League specifically. And every Saturday, Sunday, sometimes Monday, I'd be huge bets. And I do think that once I stopped playing that game and like chasing that same kind of feeling, it is kind of a similar feeling to having a winning trade. It was a big help in effectively managing my dopamine when I'm trading. Now I will play. What's the ticker? I will play poker and I'll do stuff like that because I do think I have an edge in those games. But like I wouldn't have an edge playing poker in Las Vegas at the World Series of Poker, like against my buddies or stuff like that, right? That's where things can be successful. What's the ticker? Um, I would still need a confirmation candle post, right? So I would still need a candle that looks like 1, 2, or 3 on increasing outlier volume because this candle kind of failed as a setup. Whoops. It kind of looks like it's just mirroring the market here. Could be a gap fill and go type scenario. But besides that, I can't really comment with too much expertise here. So a CL, I need to get under these wicks. So like 61.50-ish. Because otherwise that would have to be my target. And that 20 cents isn't enough. I'm pretty sure I went to it though. All right, this income fund. Oh, it should still show it. But yeah, it just looks very similar, high correlation to what the market is doing. So it's like a sympathy trade, yeah, like a gap fill and go type thing. Sure. But like I'm Canadian, but I'll be honest with you, I don't ever look at Canadian stocks or anything along these lines. So I'm sorry, I can't give you a much better answer than that. It's just, it's not my, it's not like my zone of excellence. Like I'd call myself a chalk trader, right? I trade the favorites, the most liquid names, and pretty much just ignore everything else. Because generally, right, the more liquid a name is, the better technical analysis generally works on those works on in those types of environments. So yeah, we're kind of still in that zone of consolidation here. I think pretty much across the board, we've kind of seen some of these names give some of these like little gap fill attempts. So there are multiple copy traders that you can use, Ali, right? So there are a lot of third-party trade copiers that you can use. If you sign up with TopStep X, effectively they have like a built-in trade copier that you can use, right? So that's what I'm doing. It's effectively combining all my accounts into one. And then, yes, I have 2 other windows that are open that are also just execution windows. And so I have a monitor completely dedicated to that, which is directly to my right. Now, these are one heck of a doji here on the indexes. A link to what, Ali? Like I said, you can Google a bunch of trade copiers. I do not use them myself personally. I use TopStep X, which uses an internal platform. There's nothing really there for me to link, man. A Google search is going to be 10 times faster. You go through the Discord, right? There's also hundreds and hundreds of messages discussing various options, various copiers, all this kind of stuff. So, please take care of those types of variables yourself. I can help you with the technical element of your trading, right? But I'm not here to be your tech support or your Best Buy Geek Squad. Not what I'm here for. So my job, right, is to teach you guys about my technique, why I'm taking trades, how I'm taking trades, what my position sizing is going to be, what my stop loss is going to be, where I get in, where I get out, right? How I manage my risk. That's ultimately what my responsibility is here. That for me is the thing that I want to focus on. That's the thing where I can actually provide value. I can't offer any element of intelligent conversation in technical like computer setups or internet or whatever, right? So I can't help there because those are questions where I'm going to have to Google an answer for you. And so it's going to be 60 times faster for you to just Google it yourself. So at this point, right, I'm probably not going to be hyper aggressive for the remainder here of the session because I've got no indication of like a personality change or shift here, right, on our tickers. We're getting pretty kind of muted, slow moves after that initial 15 minutes. And so this is kind of a calmer market environment. If I just got to take up my base hits, no problem. I'm happy to do that. So yeah, everything you guys need from like a technical setup perspective to be able to trade with me here on a daily basis. You can find that inside the Start Here channel there in the Discord. There's maybe 10 or 11 videos there. It'll take you 45 minutes to go through it, and it'll answer all of those types of questions. And it'll allow you to basically replicate the exact same setup I have. And it's really easy. Yeah, John, we took 2 trades here. Mean reversion looks. We played one here on NQ on the 10-min time frame for a nice win, about a 50-point win, give or take. And then on ES, we tried to play a similar thesis. We got a little bit of shaken out, fake out before it ended up breaking down. But yeah, sitting on a nice green day here, like 600-ish bucks. So no real complaints. About a $250 loss on the first trade. And yeah, about like 900 bucks there on the second. Appreciate that link, Mike. Might have to save that. So who's green here today? Everyone on the team green? Love that. Attaboy, Ajay. Pronunciation's better today, right? Good, good. Let's go, Greg. Nice work, Jeremy. Attaboy, Jeff. See, my tech solution, Mike, is turning it off and back on again. That's about as technically proficient as I can be. And it works like 99% of the time. YouTube members, you guys green today here? Nice strong day. Let's go. Yeah, Nautilus, you're crushing it here today. $1,000 right on that rip. Did you play our downside moves too? Yeah, IT crowd's great. When I first moved to the UK, Stephen, that was the first show I got introduced to. Ah, no worries. $1,000 still a great day. Let's go, Mike. Yeah, fun coupons. Classic. Yeah, the ranges we're getting on singular candles here is crazy. Well, not uh put words in your mouth here, Jeremy, but I think it's like the strategies we trade and the techniques we trade, right, are designed to take advantage of those like high volume, high momentum scenarios. So you're kind of like endorsing the system. Like, oh, like it works. But I can trade it where I'm supposed to, it works. So that's beautiful. Yeah, literally since the first 10 minutes, we've not moved. Yeah, boring PA. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of a believer, Joe, that the market likes to move in seasons, right? So it had kind of like like scratch your car if you park too close season, right? Which is like the crazy volatility. Every reaction was something insane. And now we're kind of like in a catch your breath. Holy fuck! I hope I don't blow everything type season. And so we might have to be a little bit more patient, right, with some of those opportunities. Now, uh, I'm not worried about which one it is, right? Like there's pros and cons to both. Like I think if we think back to when some of those ranges were that massive and we were getting those huge moves, like it was great, right? When we did get into a trade, it was really easy for us to get paid out and paid out big. But the amount of trades that we had to walk away from because we couldn't get the position sizing we wanted, right? Or it didn't pull back into my max loss number was also like wildly frustrating. So, truth be told, I feel confident that I can trade in pretty much any market conditions. And I think with having both like the opening range breakout technique and the mean reversion technique, we're kind of set up to be able to trade both range bound, right, and kind of momentum conditions, which is why I like it. Why I think it's a valuable tool for us to have added to our trading. Because if like momentum concepts start to dry up and die, or they become less common, and yeah, I think it just gives us more expectations. I would say that if it's definitely listening, Mike. I'll just say that. It's definitely listening. It's on Crave. You can get, Crave is like how we can get HBO in Canada. Sounds like Mike's got the premium cable subscription. Yeah, Jeremy, that's why we do or like why I do my pre-market conditions, right? And why I made this document, right? Because the pre-market conditions tell me basically what the high probability setups are for each individual day. So if I have trending conditions right in one direction, I know I need to filter out certain types of looks and I can refine my focus. Yeah, we get it right, travel. So what it means is it's the opening range breakout. And so what the opening range is it's the high and low of the first candle of whatever time frame you're on. So the opening range here on the first 3 minutes, right, is the high and low of the first 3 min candle of the day. On the 10 min, right, it's the high and low of the first 10 min candle. And so what you're looking for is for that opening range to act as an area of support or either a breakout higher or a breakout lower. If you'd like a kind of like, call it more in-depth explanation of that, if you go inside the Discord, inside the Start Here channel, there's going to be a 15-minute video that breaks down that technique and shows you how to set up your chart so that you can get it visualized here just like mine. And it'll just take you a couple clicks to accomplish that. And then also, right inside the Discord and the trading docs tab, you're going to find this graphic, which can kind of behave like your cheat sheet here. And it'll help you visualize and kind of see our setups here in real time. So yeah, go through those resources. They're all available to you. You can save them, print them up, do whatever you need. Yeah, let me know if you have any questions. Yeah, truth be told, team, I think we saw things pretty well here today. I got zero complaints with how we've traded. So it can only be an inside candle if the wicks don't make a higher high or a lower low, right? Sure, I should say and instead of or. So they need to be completely confined. Every single bit of price action of that candle needs to be inside the previous candle. So that includes the wick and the body. So all the price action, right, has to be inside the previous bar. Any other questions here, team? Anything else kind of sticking out here? I think realistically at this point, I'm probably not going to place any further trades just because price action has just been stuck for the last give or take hour. I'm kind of getting that day of consolidation, not getting that day of momentum. So I'm not, there's no evidence here that suggests I need to be more aggressive. I should just be happy with the green day. And I am. I'm happy with the green. Nice work, Mike. Yeah, stack them up, man. For those of you who are DTR guests, how'd you guys feel about today's trading day? Sharp? Yeah? Did I make sense? Was I clear and obvious what I was doing? This is the time to basically get those questions answered. Sounds good. Have you booked your call with your DTR advisor? They'll be able to help you speed up that process. No worries. So, Elizabeth, what you can do, send me an email, michael@dtrtrading.com, and I'll make sure to get you all set up. Any other questions here, team? Anything else you guys want to go over? You sent me an email last night? Oh, is it from a penny church? Yeah, okay. So I got it. Perfect. I'll get someone to reach out to you here. If by WR you mean White Rock, John, is that what you mean? I can break down my little journey here if that's something you're interested in. Yeah, so I grew up in White Rock. Left when I was 18. I spent 8 months in Victoria at UVic, and then moved to the UK. So then moved to London, England, when I was 19, and worked there went to school there, worked there pretty much right away, and lived in London for a couple years, then moved to a place called Guernsey. Worst place in the world to live when you're like 25. No income tax, was great. That was where the fund was located that I worked at, and learned a ton. Went through that whole process, and then after Brexit, I didn't want to be in the UK anymore. Like my right to live in the UK got taken from me, so I decided to move back to Canada. Initially, I moved back to Toronto, so that's where I had some friends and kind of hung out with them for a while. And was like, oh, okay, I'll just like stay here until I get a job in New York or something. Once that happened, the pandemic basically occurred. And so I started trading for myself. At that time, I actually moved to Montreal and lived in Montreal for a little bit, bought a place there, kind of just hung out for a bit, traded a whole 9 yards. And then right now I am near Kingston, Ontario. I have a place that I rent out to college kids and stuff. So yeah, kind of here in between new renters. And then in like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I'm going to be back out west. I'll be spending my summer in Whistler. So I'm a little bit of a gypsy. I move like every couple of years. But hopefully that answers your question. Yeah, well, I'm like the least Canadian because I fucking hate socialism, and I try to leave this country every opportunity I can. So I'm yeah, the least Canadian. So I will tell you, John, probably the reason why I left Montreal, or like a big reason of why I left Montreal, because I went on a date with a girl a couple of years ago, and we were sitting. I took her to a pretty nice bar. It's a really cool bar called Bigger in Japan, and it's like this uh, kind of like sneaky Japanese whiskey like bar where it looks like an absolute dump on the outside, and then when you walk in, it's like this beautiful chandelier and gorgeous cocktails and all this sort of stuff. So really cool bar. Besides the point, but we're talking and we're starting to get to know each other a little bit here, and yeah, we're having a great time. And ask her what she's doing or what she is, and she's like, "Oh, I'm a communist." And at that point, like vibe just totally changed. So I told her that I was a capitalist, and she asked, "What does that mean?" And I told her that I trade the stock market, right? Which is like the most capitalistic thing that one could possibly do. And just like the look of disgust on her face that I was part of the problem, not the socialist solution. It was horrific. And I was like 65% convinced that when I told her that we were going to split the bill, that he was going to like storm out and like be furious at me. So I found it really funny. She was a communist. She was equal rights and equal whatever. But when it came to pay for her $35 cocktail, it was yeah, she was like that mayor on Twitter who's always like calling immigrants gay. She all of a sudden became that. So cracked me up. But yeah, Jay, I would see quite a lot of communist bullshit stuff in Montreal. Like there are a bunch of protests always in the summer. You'd see the hammer and sickle, all this kind of stuff. I'd go for runs, and someone would hand out to me the Daily Worker, which is like a communist newspaper. And I remember there's a park in Montreal called Mount Royal. Beautiful park. I absolutely love it. And I would go for runs there pretty often. If anyone's on Strava, like I was the local legend on a few of the trails. And I remember one day going for a run, and there was a big table and like a big hammer and sickle sign, and these like two guys sitting there. And I got into this like 45-minute historical argument with them, just like listing off every like Russian-based starvation plan that they had for aristocrats in the middle class, and just got these guys so fired up. I think that was probably my fastest run I've ever had, because just like the rage I had when I was running powered me to a pretty wicked fast 10K. But yeah, that shit drives me crazy. And I'm not like I don't hate it, or like I don't hate any of these people, but both of my parents, right, are Polish immigrants, and they actually left Poland as political refugees, right, to escape Soviet Russia. So they left Poland before the wall fell, and yeah, like my childhood was all there's nothing worse than communism. Like they baked that into me from a very young age. So yeah, it's something for me that I'm very passionate about. And yeah, I remember I remember as a kid, I don't know why I'm thinking about this today, but I remember as a kid going to Poland, and I was probably like 5 or 6. So we're like hanging out with all my aunts and uncles and all this kind of stuff, and seeing family and like my parents' friends all over the place. And I remember that when we went to Germany, no problems. Like my mom was a totally rational human being. She's like, oh, it's okay, you guys can speak Polish here. No one's gonna do whatever and all this kind of stuff. And then they went to go see some family friends in Moscow, and we all went down there, and we were forbidden from speaking Polish and Russian, or in Russia. Like, she got so mad at us when we would speak Polish to her instead of speaking English, and he was so scared of Russians. Yeah, so very much influenced probably my career path now that I think about it. But yeah, that's my anti-socialist stance for the day. Yeah, team. I think all things considered, pretty good trading day, right? Like, did I make any dumb mistakes? Didn't get emotionally attached to positions, traded the system right in front of me instead of like forcing dumb BS. And on a nice green day, I cannot complain about anything. Yeah, beautiful. So stop loss for me, Rob, is always based on one of two techniques, right? So my stop loss is always at the higher low of my confirmation candle or the high and low of my entry candle. So confirmation, right, is once we get a breakout. Let's find a good example here. All right, sweet. So this is a good example. So, okay. All right. So my setup, if I'm playing this opening range breakout, is a breakout through the opening range, right? So once price makes a move above, say that 18,481, I have an active setup trigger. Once I set up, or once I have an active setup, I'm looking for confirmation that that setup is correct. And confirmation occurs when this 5-min candle closes, as long as it gives me a increasing outlier volume profile, which this candle is, and the candle shape looks like candle 1, 2, or 3. So in this case, right, the candle looks like the normal bullish, right, candle 3. So I have a valid confirmation here to play this trade. So based on that, right, I've got two places where I can place my stop loss. I can place the stop loss here, right at the low of my confirmation candle. Or if price action wants to give me a immediate breakout above, then I can place my stop loss at the low of my what would be entry candle and look for a bounce off of my confirmation high as my entry zone. So as long as price action hasn't made a higher high, I'm looking for a pullback with a stop loss at the low of my confirmation. Once price action has made a higher high past my confirmation candle, then I'm placing my stop loss there at the low of my entry candle. What do you mean by trade replication, Manjeet? Do you mean that as in there, like there's a I don't know what they call it. There's like a portfolio management type setting, right, where people can set up like accounts and they'll trade a ratio of what I'm doing. Is that what you're asking? Or am I like managing 20 accounts? Yeah, so I don't personally do that. Like I said, the family fund that I trade was seed funded effectively by my dad. He gave me 100K. And so I am fully in charge of that portfolio and what I've built it out into. And so it's all just a singular one. Rob, did I answer your question? Fantastic. If you go into the Discord, Rob, inside the Start Here channel, there's going to be a video called Risk Management and Being a Good Loser. Video 1 inside that series. I would recommend that. It's going to look like this. It's a quick little Loom video, 8 minutes long, and it'll kind of break down for you, my stop loss philosophy. But really, all I'm trying to do is just have a repeatable process, and from there, I can build it out. No worries, John. You and him can have a lot of time to ski the slopes together now. No worries. I'm sure he's a great whitewater rafter and a great ski instructor. Good man. So there's only two groups of people that I refuse to work with here in DTR. And I hope this is not personal to anyone here, but I refuse to work with agents of the IRS. I don't want those devils inside my my program, and I refuse to work with registered members of the Communist Party. If you are either one of those things, trading the stock market with DTR probably isn't for you. But that's it. I don't discriminate otherwise. All right, team. Any other questions here? Anything else we want to go over? I'm starting to get into a wacky mode here, so I need to stop before I say anything too crazy and get myself put on the list. Oh, if I were waiting for a big government pension too, I would have probably done the same thing. Scummy, scummy, scummy. All right, team, final call for questions here. Final call for questions. Hey, you too, Manjeet. Have a great day, man. All right, team. Well, same deal like always, right? If you have any questions, hit me up outside of market hours, and I will do my best to get back to you as soon as I can. Otherwise, though, right, really strong trading day here to kick the week off with a bang. And let's see if we can keep kind of improving, right? Keep getting a little bit better and keep making a few extra dollars here as we kind of stack up, right? A pretty consistent little run of form. Again, portfolio sitting here at all-time highs. Can't really complain. And yeah, we'll keep racking them up, team. Any always, Oz, always. Awesome. All right, team. So yeah, keep stacking them up here, keep improving, keep getting a little bit better. PNL continues to climb to all-time highs, right? So we're in great shape. And we'll be back at it again here tomorrow for what should hopefully be another strong trading day. And we'll get after it then. So have yourselves a great rest of the afternoon. And I'll catch up with a few of you here in our one-on-ones later today. And then otherwise, see you all tomorrow. So have a great one, team. And we'll talk later. Peace.